Hello, 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 hello. We're going to start with the music and then we're going to get going. People going to be joining in. Give them a little second. Start this off with my music. Yeah. 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 Welcome to Conversations with Malik. Welcome to Conversations with Malik. I gotta start it with my music. I gotta start it with my music. How you doing, everybody? You are tuned in to another episode of Conversations with Malik. I'm here with Bernard Harris from Harris Financial Services. You can find him at 17561 Hillside Avenue, Suite 401. We're going to be getting into some good things today, helping some people. We're going to be talking about the tax code, the new tax situation going out, some tax tips. I want to first start it out with giving a shout out to the local businesses. I'll give a shout out to my son's business, my little man Malik at the.official collab. You can catch him on Instagram. They got Bernard. He got some new clothing coming out. I'm so proud of this man. He's an entrepreneur. Okay. Yeah, so people can catch him on the.official collab. You can catch my daughter Shavona. My daughter Shavona makes nice dresses, Bern.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, listen. She can make dresses. All of the divas be coming by, buying dresses. Beautiful women putting the beautiful dresses on, teenagers.
So she does the patterns and everything?
She does the patterns. She makes it from scratch. She takes their measurements, sweet 16s, whatever it is. You can catch her at Dirty Monroe on Instagram. Of course, Tracy and Melise Bus Inc. We've been blessed to provide service in the community 23 years. We're on Merrick Boulevard, 22801. Merrick Boulevard, same location, the Laugh and Learn place, preschool, UPK, after school program. And can't forget my man Jeff Joes with Creative Stream on 212th Street and Jamaica Avenue, after school program in conjunction with We So Creative. And we got my man Bernard Harris in the house. How you doing, Bern?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. Listen, man, we here to talk. You know, we got the new tax laws coming out, so we're here to talk a lot of good stuff. We want to talk about your story.
Okay.
And we're gonna get into your business a little bit, you know, and then we're gonna talk about some things that we really feel will be helpful and productive for people in these days and times with the new tax bill that's possibly going to be going through soon. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Can't complain.
All right. Yeah. So listen, Bern. So when did you get started in the tax business? You had mentioned to me that you was doing some things with forbearance agreements, but how did that whole thing come about with you in the tax business?
Well, I was doing, like you mentioned, I was doing forbearance agreements through Citibank and bankruptcies, but the income was not coming in fluent, like straight, where I would get paid every single week. It would be slow.
Wow.
So I had an office that I was leasing out from Chase, and I had desk space there, and I was renting out space to 3 other entrepreneurs trying to get their small businesses off the ground.
Okay, so they was renting the space from you.
Right, correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Okay.
So one of the guys did tax returns.
Okay.
I think maybe 2 tax returns in a row. He kept on asking me, "Why don't you get involved with this?" And at first I told him, "No, I don't really want to do that." So he suggested to you to get into it. Right, he suggested it to me. So then I thought about it for a while. A couple of years went by, and then next thing you know, I just decided I should look into this, see where I can find some classes, and I started taking classes started through H&R Block.
Okay.
And then went to did some college courses, and got.
And then you also mentioned you was doing some things over at Liberty Tax.
Yeah, I would do tax returns for people, but I didn't have the qualifications to be able to transmit the returns out.
Right.
So I needed to find out what I need to do. So at first I would go to Liberty Tax, and they would work something out with me, because there's a way that you can do it. If you're registered through IRS to do the tax returns, you can also do them, but you have to be also registered and able to transmit the tax returns. So
at this point, you were trying to figure out, how could I do this thing
on my own
and without having to work for somebody
else?
You sound like my kind of guy. My kind of guy, Bern.
Yeah, I was trying to eliminate the middleman.
Oh.
So I got a chance to figure it out. At first,
the good old middleman that makes all the money, and don't really do nothing.
And I'm cutting out my profit.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
All right, so then I was able to figure out through IRS what I need to do to be able to be competent enough to do tax returns on my own.
So what made you call? Because, a lot of people are scared of the IRS. What made you just say, I'm going to call the IRS to find out how I could learn how to prepare taxes? Because most people are scared of the IRS.
True. But I mean, it's not easy. I at first, when I was just a regular working person, just starting my business out, I had an experience where I had to confront the IRS. As I was behind on my payroll taxes. And there was a lady who I had to see. Well, actually, I'll put it like this. The IRS agent would take a business card and throw it underneath the door. And I wasn't there at the time, and I was wondering why the card wasn't there, and I didn't get a letter. So then I had to end up going to work again, come back about 2 weeks later. And all of a sudden, another business card goes thrown underneath the door from the Internal Revenue Service right here in Lefrak City. And I said, let me call the number. So I called the number.
See what this is about.
Yes, I called the number. Wanted to see what it's about. And the lady was no taller than maybe 4'10", maybe 5 feet.
Okay.
She told me all the information I need to bring in. I thought I brought in all the information that I brought in.
Right.
And she told me that if I bring in the paperwork the way I have it, they were gonna put me underneath the ground.
Oh,
it's kind of threatening, but I was able to.
Oh man,
I felt smaller than her when I left out of there. But through me, I was able to get in contact with her boss.
Okay.
And after I got through talking with him, I explained to him how she was treating me about something I didn't know nothing about.
Right.
And when I got a chance to go back to the office after we set up another meeting, I explained to her supervisor in front of him,
right,
how she treated me.
Okay.
And then once I got that issue resolved, then I said, you know what? I'm going to. I like doing taxes, but I didn't know what I was doing.
Okay.
So I needed to go.
So you wanted to know what it was that you were talking about. You wanted to be schooled so that this would never happen again.
Correct.
Okay.
So then I ended up taking some classes.
Right.
I ended up learning through.
Where did you go to the classes at?
Some classes I went to either BNCC College.
Okay.
I went to NYU, and then I did a lot of my classes through Internal Revenue Service itself. They have a program that you can go to become an enrolled agent, or you can become a return preparer.
Okay.
Or what's called an ERO. It's a benefit that you can get through doing tax returns.
Wow.
And
so the IRS actually teaches people how to prepare taxes.
Yeah, they do.
Wow.
And you have to get a certain percentage and to be able to do that. And
Okay.
you have to be competent enough to be able to do a return.
Okay. No problem.
And that was basically it.
Mm-hmm.
But through me doing the tax returns, I did have a bumpy road of trying to get back into doing tax returns all the time, because I had, like, at different times of during the course of me doing tax returns over 20 years, I've had, like, both my parents passed away.
Wow.
And I had to stop my business at one time or another, but I did get a chance to start it back up again. And now I have an office that's in Jamaica.
Okay.
It's in on Hillside Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically, I've been in that building now since 2000 of December.
Right. Well, listen, I could say I know from my own personal experience, my books was a mess before I met you.
Yeah, it was,
and I was referred to you by somebody for my business because one thing that I noticed, a lot of small business owners don't take care of their books properly, and they just want to kind of operate willy-nilly. Right. You know, they get it as it comes, and as fast as it comes in, they spend it without necessarily doing inventory, looking at what's coming in, what's coming out.
Right.
And what I learned was I became a better businessman. So it's funny. There was somebody that I was coaching with that told me that their brother had a good person that prepared their taxes.
Right.
I called you up. No sooner than I go to you and start getting my taxes together, the same month that I got all of my books together, I was audited.
Wow, yeah.
You remember that?
I remember that, yeah.
That was deep.
And I think you told me that the auditor asked you who did your books.
The auditor asked me who did my books, and it was this guy right here. He told me you did my books, but I became a better businessman because I went from, you know, they talk about the bricks and sticks, and the bricks is, you know, your feet on the ground doing the labor work, and the sticks is the paperwork.
Right.
I started becoming more of a sticks guy. I've always been the bricks guy.
Okay.
But I became more of a sticks guy as a result of coming to you. So, you know, I got you to think a lot for that. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't easy, you know, all the time. You talked about your parents passing. I'm bet there was probably difficult times in business. How did you keep the business afloat all these years?
Well, it wasn't easy because when I first opened up the doors, I didn't have no revenue coming in at all. And so most people think because you're running a tax business, it only goes from January through April. And then after April 15th comes up, it's cut off. And that's not true.
Right.
Because you have businesses that have businesses all year round. They have to do quarterly reports. They have to do their payroll.
Right.
They have other things that they have to do.
Estimated taxes.
Right. Estimated taxes also. And what I did was I started adding what I already did before. Like, remember when we first started talking the conversation, I was doing forbearance agreement, bankruptcy, stuff like that.
Right.
So I added that to my business, which I originally was moving slow, and started adding it to my business that I do now. So now that the business now is flourishing now to where I have enough customers where I don't have to worry about if I don't want to work for nobody else, I don't have to work for nobody else.
Wow, that's powerful. You know, Kujichagulia, self-determination, one of the principles of Kwanzaa.
Correct.
You know, listen, I got a question. So why do people fall behind in their taxes? What are some of the main symptoms and some of the main common traits that you see during your experience?
Well, one thing that a lot of people do that's the wrong way to do their tax return, an individual, we're not talking about somebody that has a business.
Right.
They will start getting their taxes together like right now.
Okay.
And that's not how you're supposed to prepare for your taxes. As soon as the new year comes in, you need to figure out ways to be able to make you more money. You can, if you want to pay less taxes, but you got to do it during the year, not
you got to stay on top of it as you go.
Yeah, you definitely have to do that.
Okay.
Because I've seen through me doing hundreds of tax returns every year, I've seen people come in the door in January or come in the door and then
trying to figure it all out then.
Yeah, or come in the door with garbage bags full of receipts, like I'm supposed to know what's in that bag. And then I've had problems with, and I've had problems where people will come in the door and they'll just think that I'm supposed to just put down whatever they say to put down. I've lost like.
Or you're supposed to just figure the whole thing out and it's their business.
Right. That's not a way to do it. The way to do your taxes is to if you have a good tax preparer, they will tell you to keep your receipts all year. If you have itemized deductions, if you have expenses, the best way to do it is to keep records of everything. If you have a business, if you don't have a business, you still have to keep proper.
Just keep all your receipts, and then let your tax preparer kind of sort them out.
Well, you can do that, but I think the best way to do it is either on a monthly basis, either the first 2 days of the month, or the last 2 days of each month.
Okay.
You need to gather together. You can take if you have a shoe box and you want to throw all the receipts into the box, and then at the end of the month, you take those receipts and you put them together for each month. Or if you're really someone that's organized, take the receipts every week and just make a log of what you're trying to do.
Right. Because I noticed, because I'm looking, and so Lowell Hawthorne from Golden Crust.
Right.
So now they have video surveillance of the brother. He was talking to some employees. He pulled up in his Tesla. Mm-hmm. He came inside. He kind of parked all crazy. He went inside. He was talking to 2 of the employees, and he had a letter on the table, and he shot himself in the head. And now they're saying he had gotten letters from the IRS, and you got some figures here. Maybe you could read off some of the figures, and then we can get into what happened with him, because people are falling into this with the tax problems.
Well, I don't understand something, because he started his business in 1989.
Right.
All right. Now he's worth, from what I found out, the net worth of Mr. Hawthorne was $70 million. Right. Now,
but what is that? We could get into net worth, but go ahead.
Okay, but it will say that he owed, in city taxes was $150,000, and in state taxes owed $15,000.
Right.
So my thing is, something's wrong with the picture if you only owe $150,000 in one area, you owe $15,000 in another area. You're worth $70 million, and you have 100. There was 100 Golden Crush employees that were stiff overtime.
Right.
So I'm still trying to figure out, how did
could it go back to money management? Well, and then keep in mind, he also had money management, number one, and number two, he also had businesses in other states. So
correct.
Could it have been other state
he had
tax problems too?
Yeah, he had 120 stores in 9 states, and in grocery stores he had supplies of food in different stores. So,
right.
So the person that's to read this information would wonder what went wrong, or what was not. Was it his accountant that didn't do the paperwork correctly, or was it somebody that just didn't care? And it could have been something underlying somewhere else with him, somewhere else that we don't know about.
Wow, man. I just wish that I walked past Golden Crust today and I was just devastated. I just felt the spirit, and I'm looking as an entrepreneur. I know what it takes to have one store,
right?
Let alone multiple stores and all that comes in that. Right. So, listen, we talked about it. We want to be more prudent with our money.
Right.
And that kind of leads us into the new tax mandate. You got some information about the 2 new tax mandate, because now so Congress and the Senate, they're hashing out some things.
Right.
They're trying to figure out who's going to do what, and what they're going to leave in and what they're going to take out. So what you got about that?
Okay, so if anybody that works right now, and anybody that required to do a tax return, there's always been, since Obama's been in office, there's been a tax mandate that everyone pays every year. If you're working, you're required to have health insurance.
Okay.
All right. So if you don't have health insurance, there's a penalty that you would normally have to pay, which a lot of people, depending on who it is, they'll come into a tax preparer's office and they will complain that they don't like the tax mandate. But right now, what's happening is that Trump did I think it was executive order, it was like 6 months ago.
Okay.
That tax mandate would be rescinded. Now, the problem with them rescinding that tax mandate is this. There is three things that's going to happen here. First, number one, the House passed their part of this tax mandate, and then the Senate passed it just a couple of days ago.
Right.
And there is going to be a problem in the healthcare processing this tax bill, because of the fact that number one, you have to remember that when all these people came into, it was over 20 million people that had health insurance.
Right.
And now I think it's 13 million right now that, because of the tax mandate, will not have health insurance right once this goes into place.
Wow.
So
wow.
And even if right now you're a person who pays it every month, and you turn around and you didn't like it, it's just like give you an example. You have a car,
right?
If I have a car, and you have car insurance on that car,
right?
There are millions of people out there right now that don't get in accidents, that when you get in an accident, you're covered.
Gotcha.
The same way works with the tax mandate. So now you're going to have people that no longer have coverage, and now they're going to turn around. Even if they were working, they're going to turn around and go to the tax office, and now they're not going to have the deal with that mandate. But at the same time, you got to deal with the bill.
Wow. So how does that? So when you get into the state and the city deductions, how is that going to work out?
All right. Now there are 7 states in the United States right now that does not pay state and city taxes. Okay. And if we go over right now, that's one state is Florida. You got Washington State. You have I think it's Nevada.
Okay.
South Dakota. I'm trying to remember the other ones, but at the moment I can't. But what's going to happen is there is a bill from the Senate and a bill from the House. They're going to marry these 2 bills together since the bill hasn't been already passed.
Right.
A lot of uproar that's happening about the state and city taxes.
But right, it's probably going to get passed. They're probably going to pass the bill.
Well, the bill is already technically passed because they passed in the House and the Senate.
Right.
But what's going to happen is
before they release it, they got to iron out a couple things.
Where the states that didn't pay out city and state taxes, because they're gonna pass this bill where you don't pay any city or state tax deductions. Now you may not even get a refund from the city and the state.
Wow, that's deep.
You may end up getting only a refund from the federal.
That's deep.
And the businesses that run businesses, just like the government.
And people vote for this stuff, man. You know, this is the people that you put in office. Go ahead.
Well, I'll put it like this. Even though it's the government, a state government, it runs just like if you have a business. You cannot have tax expenses and then don't have revenue coming in to run the business.
Right.
There's a state right now in Ohio. I believe the governor's name was Terry Bradshaw. I'm not sure exactly the name. I think it was Terry Bradshaw.
Terry Bradshaw.
And
the old quarterback, man.
No, not Terry Bradshaw. Not that one. I might be saying the wrong last name, but I think it's Terry Bradstead or something like that.
Okay.
He's from Iowa. They cut $118 million in tax cuts out of the state, and now the state of Iowa is going to go into a state of they're on the verge of going to state of bankruptcy right now.
Wow.
And that comes from right now not having state and city taxes. Just like you running a business.
Also, state and city taxes also brings income into the state.
Well, it not only does that, it helps
prop it up.
Runs the business,
right.
runs that tax off that entity for the governorship for that state.
Right.
And then they pay their people, they fix their roads, their bridges, whatever it is. Now, if you don't have any income coming in from that, coming through the taxpayers that pay the tax state, where's the revenue going to come from? The revenue's got to come from somewhere. So the reason why I brought up the state of Iowa is because they did the same thing.
Wow.
They eliminated a lot of the tax benefits that they were getting in the past, and now they're in a position where they're almost in bankruptcy right now.
Okay, so what are some of the figures you got here?
All right, so on the figures I got for the tax brackets right now, there are 7 tax brackets that everybody enjoys right now, so far as when they do their tax returns every year.
Okay.
All right. So now the way that this is going to work, the House right now has a bill that proposes 4 tax brackets, which is going to be was 12%, 25%, 35%, and 39%. So they're going to cut out 3 more brackets out. So that means that if the brackets, you don't fall in the right bracket area, you could be making, say, $27,000, and you may be paying upwards of 25%, 35% in your taxes.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
When you had the 7 brackets gave you more opportunities that your amount would be less. It's going to be more if you do it the other way.
Wow. If you're just tuning in, we're joined with Bernard Harris of Harris Financial Services. We're talking taxes, people. We're talking taxes, the truth on taxes. Go ahead, Bern.
All right. So we have to really understand why the tax codes are going this way. And the best way to understand it is that when you pay into your taxes and when you do your tax return, even though you might say they take out a lot of taxes out of your pay, it is going to different services that you're used to, like roads, bridges, whatever it is that the government uses it for, or each state uses it for. But at the same time, if you don't pay into your taxes, you can, if you have a competent tax preparer, you could do your taxes where you
that's a big if,
where you don't owe any money and you won't get any money back. Because some people want to do that, and that's fine. But if you do pay your taxes, this is where the money will go to, so that you're able to, so that each state is able to work out whatever situations that they have for each individual state, so that you're able to get your funding. So now, right now, New York State is in a position where once this bill is actually passed, and they go right now, and the bill is in committee right now through the Senate and the House. It's already passed.
Right. And
they're trying to figure out what they want to do. I can give you vague information now on it because they haven't exactly put anything on the paper and it hasn't been signed yet.
Right.
But once it's signed, it's a possibility that you may not be able to get a state income tax check for this year.
Oh my goodness.
And that's only because
and see, people, it's amazing. We're talking about this and people don't know this, and they're going to be in for a big surprise.
I think so. Now there is other deductions also that's going to be affected by this too. And one of the say, like, the standard deduction right now is, I think, for a single person is $6,300. They're going to double the standard deduction, where if you have if you don't know what a standard deduction is, it's on a Schedule A of an itemized worksheet in a long form or a 1040 worksheet that you work when you do your taxes.
Right.
And what they're going to do is they're going to double that itemized deduction, but they're going to eliminate the personal exemption. So, like, if you have a personal exemption, which would be it's you plus 1 or 2 dependents. Each one of those dependents are exemptions, or that's what they call it, exemptions. Right. But they're actually dependents.
Right, and you get more money back.
Right, but they're gonna right now, the report that I've seen in the Forbes newspaper or magazine mentions that personal exemption will be eliminated.
Wow.
So if it's eliminated, you won't be able to take that benefit. And if the personal exemption is for 2 people or 3, you won't be able to take advantage of that. And they may give it to you trying to say that we're going to give you a standard deduction of, say, $12,000, or if you're a head of household, it may be, I think it's 9,000 right now, but I think it's going to go up to 18,000. Every single bracket, they're going to double the amount. So
people, the holiday time is coming up, and people are about to start spending a whole bunch of money.
Right.
Right. And they're thinking, yeah, I can spend this money and I'm gonna get my tax return. Don't get too far into a hole thinking that this tax return is going to be your bounce back, because this year's tax return might not be your bounce back this year. I wouldn't, we're in unsure territory right now. Is that safe to say, Bern?
Yes.
And I tax returns aren't going to be how they usually are. So I would say this holiday season coming up, take it easy, play it safe. Don't jump out thinking, okay, when I get this big dookie tax return of 11,000, 9,000 I used to get, because you turn around and it's 3,000, or it's actually nothing. Now you got all the credit. Now it's you got all the credit card debt from before,
from your shopping.
You from your shopping. So now you still got to pay the shopping back, and then that cruise that you booked that you thought you was going to pay off the rest. On that cruise you've been paying down on. Now you can't pay down on the cruise.
That's correct.
No, because I know how people are when it comes to these taxes. They plan their taxes returns are like a part of their income.
That's correct. And some people rely on that when the first of the year comes in. And just to mention that, January 23rd this year starts the beginning of tax season.
So it's starting January 23rd, people, this year.
Right, correct. Mm-hmm. Now, one other thing that people need to be aware of that's going to happen. Anybody that's a private contractor that has what's called an ITIN, it's not a social security number. It's a tax number. It's a number that starts with the number 9.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, those numbers are being phased out or have to be renewed. So if you are someone or know someone that has a tax ID number or called a TIN, it's called ITIN.
Listen.
And the numbers in the middle, like everybody's 9-digit number on a social security number is 9 digits, and there's always the 2 numbers that are in the middle.
Okay.
Any number that begins with 9 and the 2 numbers in the middle are 70, 71, 72, and 80. You need to go either online.
That's not me.
You're funny. You need to go online. And you need to go get what's called a W-7, and you need to resubmit that form out to Internal Revenue Service for them to renew that TIN. As of the 31st of December, that number that you have, unless it's renewed, you're not going to be able to file a tax return with that number. Also, on that number, it does not allow you to, it allows you to claim the dependent on that number.
Okay.
But it does not allow you to get anything so far as earned income credit.
Okay.
You're not eligible for any Social Security benefits out of that also. So just be aware of that. But that has to be done by the 31st of this month. So if you know anybody out there.
So now what about student deductions? What's going on with the student?
All right.
The college students. Talk to me.
All right. So on the student, if you have a tuition that you've been paying into, if you say you have a daughter or son that you're paying for,
I got a son in college.
All right. So the student deduction, that 1098T form for deduction is being eliminated as of next year.
See this?
If
you see this? See, now I'm ready to end the interview. Now I'm mad.
It's not my fault.
Yeah, but that affects me directly.
I hear you.
You're the messenger, Bern.
All right, don't kill the messenger.
You remember the movie 300 where he was like, I'm just the messenger. He was like, everybody's accountable for their words here in Sparta.
I hear that.
Wow. So I'm not going to be able to file that.
No, you won't be able to file it this year.
Yo, y'all see this? Go ahead.
All right, so
wow,
that gives you some areas of what's going to happen for your tax returns. For
you can't file. What is it? The 1098? The
1098T.
The 1098T. If you have a child in college, you're not getting any money.
The credit that you were going to get.
The credit that you were going to get, you're not getting now. It's over.
All right.
It's over.
It's over, but
for now.
But the best thing for someone to do,
vote.
All right, the best
2018, we got to vote.
That's true.
We got to vote. 2018, we got to vote. because this is real stuff happening. Go ahead.
That's true. Now, even though some of the things that we just mentioned is going to happen, sometimes you may have to look at what's on paper and work around it. Like, I'm gonna give you an example. Okay, like,
so these are tax tips. You're giving us tips now.
Some tips, yes.
Give us some tips. All
right. So,
well, what you could give, since Facebook Live, man. Yeah. So.
All right. So starting with a business, and then I'll go to personal. All right. So starting with a business, the best thing for you to do when you're trying to prepare for a tax return is to not only just having the records. I usually when I'm doing, I'm just going to use you as an example, Malik. When I'm doing your tax returns, usually is you have 3 companies, plus a daycare center. I don't even tell you what month I'm going to look at. I just tell you I want to see the month of August. I want to see the month of December.
You do.
And I want to make sure all the records are correct.
You do. And you make sure my records are correct.
And then what you do is all during the year, you gotta.
We're talking taxes if you just join. We're talking taxes if you just join. Bernard Harris Financial Tax Service. Go ahead, Bern.
All right. So not only do you need to have your records in order when you see the tax preparer, the whole entire year you need to be able to at least once a month. If you can't do it every single week, because I've had people that will come into a tax office and even come into my tax office with garbage bags full of receipts.
Garbage bags.
And what I started doing was I got tired of doing that, so I would take the garbage bag full of receipts and hand it to them back.
Garbage bags every time you.
So the best way to do it is to either once a week or once a month prepare for your records every single week, like you get ready to do an audit.
Right.
Because you can, I put it like this: you can get audited at any time.
Any time. Your
records could be perfect, and you can still get an audit.
And that's what could have happened to the owner of Golden Crust.
Correct. And you
this is serious.
You don't want to be caught just like the saying is being caught with your pants down. You don't want to be caught where you don't have your records in order. Because the same thing happened with Malik. Like you were telling me when we first started talking about how you came to me 6 months prior to you getting your records together, and by the time got ready to, by the time we finished,
as soon as I got my records together,
they audited him because they wanted to make sure that his records was in order, and they were. Right. So I'm suggesting
have a regular relationship with your tax preparer.
The tax preparer,
keep an ongoing
accountant, or whoever it is. Now, personally, for a person who has a personal tax return and they're doing it, and say I haven't seen your tax return before. All right, the first thing that a tax preparer needs to ask the person when they come into a tax office that they haven't seen before is they need to get forms of ID from the person. If the tax preparer doesn't get ID from you, then there's something wrong. And there was a couple of million people that wasn't able to file their tax returns because they didn't have proper ID.
Saeed said he was guilty of that, but he had shoe boxes full of receipts.
Okay, I see that.
Yeah, I've seen those in your office too, by the way.
Oh yeah,
shoe boxes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I've stepped over them coming in. Yeah, but at least he had them.
Yeah, but I would have sent him back too.
He would have sent you back, sir.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead. Come on.
All right. So next, you're gonna have you're gonna fill out a worksheet, and once you fill out the worksheet, the taxpayer needs to bring the tax preparer the previous year's tax return. Because what you want to be able to do is,
and if you have any questions, shoot them over real quick before we close out, because we're not going to have him here all night. So if you have any questions, shoot them over, and we also going to put up his information so that you can get in touch with him from here. This is the tax guy. We're talking taxes, the new tax code that's coming out, and the new changes that's affecting everybody's life.
All right, definitely. All right, so then, soon as you get into the tax office, the reason why you got to have the previous year's tax return, if you haven't done the tax return before, if that tax preparer hasn't done the tax return before, because they're trying to get a history on you.
Right.
You want to be able to come into, it's just like giving somebody a book.
Right.
And you're reading it for the first time, and you want to be able to go from the table of contents and then go over and read
to learn the history
of that person. So then when you dive into this current tax year,
you know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing.
Right.
I'm gonna give you a quick example of what happened to somebody that came into my office, and this person worked for MTA.
Wow.
Person came into my office was a referral from somebody else, and they came into the office, and they just came in and said, "I want to get $10,000 on my refund." And I looked at him and I said, "What do you mean you want to get $10,000?"
Yeah,
So I'm like, I said, "Okay, let me see your previous year's tax return, and then I can decide. I can figure out
how we're gonna work this out.
See if you qualify for that $10,000 tax return." So then, by me looking at his previous tax return, I asked him a question. I noticed that you had mortgage interest in your last year's tax return, but the paperwork that you gave me right now for this year's tax return, based on what I was reading from the previous tax return, shows that you don't have a what's called a 1098 mortgage interest statement.
Wow.
So my question to you would be, do you have a mortgage interest statement for this year? And then he said, no. I said, well, why don't you have one for this year? Did you finish paying off the house? And this is the reason why you don't have one? And he said, no, he's in foreclosure.
Oh.
I said, okay, so when did you go into foreclosure? And he said he went into foreclosure 2 years ago, but the final paperwork didn't go through. I said, but I noticed that that on your previous tax return, you have mortgage interest in there. And then he said he didn't know. He said this tax preparer just put the information there.
Wow.
So
negligence.
Right. And what we have to do as a tax preparer is something called due diligence.
Right. What's on the best behalf of your client?
Best behalf of the client. Plus, we have to ask you questions. So
gotcha.
If the tax preparer does not ask you questions coming into the office, and during the I call it an intake interview, which IRS also calls it the intake interview.
Right.
If they don't ask you questions throughout the whole process, if they don't do their due diligence, then ask you if that tax preparer has a dependents. Was the tax preparer, if they have dependents, how long did the child stayed in your home?
Right.
How much income do
all
you
those
have?
basic, right?
All the basic stuff. If they don't ask you all the basic stuff, then there's something wrong. If they don't ask you questions that concern your tax return and have you sign the document before you leave out the office, something's wrong. That's the way you need to approach the tax return when you're doing it.
These are things to look out for.
Right.
And basically you could kind of, I guess, what Bern is saying is you could kind of see if your tax person has your best interests at heart. If they're asking you questions and they really seem concerned, about you and your well-being, because this is serious. So again, tax season is going to be starting January 23rd. Please look out. We went over a lot of things today. You got a couple more things you want to go over before we close out?
Yeah, just one or two things. Just in case the this bill does not pass, where you still have to have the 1095A, which gives you the proof of your insurance. I want people to understand what the forms mean. So if you have a say you got a form called 1095A, and 1095A, I don't know if people can see the format, but it looks like this here.
This is a 1095A. Okay, this is a 1095A form.
Right. And that form,
and listen, people, y'all are going to be able to refer back to this episode and take all of this information with you. This is very helpful, and you can question your tax preparer about this. Go ahead. You got more forms?
Correct. They're on all three. There's three forms that comes.
The A. You got the B.
The B form looks almost similar to the A.
Okay.
But this one deals with someone that is not
1095B.
Either they're not working.
Deals with health coverage.
Or they're just working enough where they can they'll get their insurance through through the government.
Okay.
The 1095A is through the marketplace.
Gotcha.
So like right now it's under what they call the healthcare exchange, or the healthcare.gov. and that will be through the marketplace where everybody that getting the insurance gets it through. The 1095C is almost like the 1095B, but that's an employer.
You got that form,
and that form,
just to show it to them, so when they get there, I think it's under there. They can see it.
Yeah, it's under here, right here.
I see the C right here. Come on, we're gonna show it to you.
There you go.
All right. Monifa said this is referring to home and business owner. Monifa, this is matter of fact. I'm gonna refer you to him, Monifa. So when we get off the phone, I could call you and I'm gonna hook you up with him. He's a good tax preparer. This is the 1095C. Okay, 1095C people.
Right. All right.
Yeah. So listen. This is this has been a wealth of information here. Bernard Harris. He's been working on my taxes for years. I would not be where I am in business. Y'all been hearing me talk about business here on the podcast, but I've been taking the time. I removed a lot of the things in my life that were blocking me so that I could focus on the things that were important. Okay. And there's things that's important, people. And we want to stay on top of our game. This brother here, I'm telling you, he's located right here in Queens, Harris Financial Services, 17561 Hillside Avenue. And before I give the people your info and how you can reach them, I got a question for you. I always wanted to ask you this question. Okay, so listen. So it's the height of the tax season.
Right.
Tax season is going to be from January 23rd, and when is it ending?
Officially, it should end on
April 15th.
No, April the 18th.
April 18th.
And the reason why it ends on the 18th,
it's going to be the 18th this year.
Right. Mm-hmm. The reason why it ends on the 18th and not the 15th. If the filing date, April 15th, falls on a weekend, or
then it's the next Monday,
the next filing business day. Now, the problem with it for this year is there's a holiday in Washington, D.C., dealing with the Amalgamation Proclamation. And because of that, on Monday, the 17th, it's going to be on the 18th.
See, he even gives you the facts behind why things are the way they are. But listen, so I got a question for you. Okay. So it's a Friday night, and it's like, it's like April 8th, right?
All right.
We're in the middle of everybody coming to you last minute because Black people are last minute, right? What is your favorite curse word that you use at the height of your busyness in the tax season?
No, I don't have a curse word. I said, "Come to me."
So you don't care? Keep it coming.
I don't care what time. And the thing is, that people like that about my hours are till like 12 midnight.
Come on, you gotta have a curse word where you're like, man.
No, I can't.
What the hell?
I can't do that on. I can't do that.
Okay.
But my hours is all the way till midnight. So when sometimes people come to do their taxes and they're saying, well, I'm going to do my taxes and it's 10 o'clock at night, they're coming.
You be in there late.
I'm always in there.
Listen, you need your taxes done. This man, nobody works harder than him. He be in there late. He busts his butt. He knows what he's talking about. He will talk to you for hours. And in closing, I want to say this about you, and in all seriousness, that this is how I feel about you. You spend time with people.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people spend time. There's nothing more important than somebody that's going to take the time out and spend the time with you. Tell people how they can reach you. Let's run down all the info. You got it, or you want me to? Because I got it here. You got it?
All right. So if you're trying to reach me, there's a couple ways you can do it. If you're trying to reach me by phone, our office number is 718-291-3666. If you're trying to reach us by email, you can reach us at taxinfo@harrisfinancialservicesinc.com.
Okay.
If you want to reach us on Facebook, you can reach us at Harris Financial NY. That's Harris Financial NY. If you want to reach us at Twitter, you can reach us at Harris Finance NY. Either way, you can reach us on that, or you can reach us at the main website if for some reason you do not have a way to make a phone call, you want to do a chat on the main website, which is harrisfinancialservicesinc.com or taxinfotips.com. It'll take you right to that. That's a more easier website to get. You get taxinfotips.com. That's the main website. Down at the right-hand corner, there is a chat box down there.
Perfect.
If you have any questions about anything,
perfect.
Any time of the night, if the chat person is up, you can ask them a question. They will give you an answer.
Yeah.
And just help you out. And most of the time, I do this too. Say you are doing some tax planning and you want to be able to plan for the next following tax year, and just
taxinfotips.com. Yes,
right, correct.
And you already got a customer. Monica left her number, so we're gonna call her after this.
Okay, no problem. If you say, for instance, right now you're at $90,000 and you got them taking out a lot of tax money out of you for the year,
okay,
and you think you're gonna go overtime and you're gonna owe money, you can call me up at any time that you want. Nice. And I can discuss with you and do what's called like a mock tax return to see if you're going to be okay for the next following tax season that comes in. A lot of my customers, what they do is they will call me to ask them if are they filling out the right information with W-4 for the job. They'll ask me if they're going to are they doing the right thing so far as putting down the right dependents down.
Nice.
And you can do that anytime. Some tax preparers will only do your taxes for you, send you out the door, and that's it.
And leave you on your own.
I will sit down with you and discuss what you need to do in order to make a better tax return for the next following tax year. If you're already a customer of mine, then I usually will do notes on you before after you leave out the door, so I'll know exactly what to discuss with you during the year and the next following year when you come in, so it won't be an issue.
Listen, in closing, I can vouch for that. He's taking good care of me. I'm going to put all of his information up on the site after. It'll also be on Conversations with Malik webpage. Listen, I would like to thank you guys for tuning in. And listen, tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, I will be doing part 2. Another episode with Conversations with Malik. I'll be doing part 2 of What Do You Believe? What Do You Believe? Part 2. It's going to be very informative. It's going to be very insightful. And we look forward to keep doing the work that we're doing here. Peace and blessings. Take care.